again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the 976 Tuna Saltwater Action Series. This one tips on taking Dorado Baja style. Folks, thanks for joining us. So happy you're here with us. We're going south of the border to take on the most acrobatic fish of the sea, the Dorado. We're heading down to the Bay of LA as well as Loreto, and you're going to absolutely love not only the action in this video, but all the tips that this thing is power-packed with. Thanks again for joining us. We're south of the border. We're after the Dorado, and we're so happy that you're on board with us. Stay tuned for more Dorado action as we head south of the border. "976 Tuna Productions presents the 976 Tuna Saltwater Action Series, bringing you the hottest fishing action from the West Coast and Baja, California. With your host, the voice of 976 Tuna, Philip Friedman. Produced and arranged by Bob Alvarez. Bienvenidos a Loreto. Welcome to Loreto. And boy, that's not just a sign. You're going to find a small Mexican atmosphere down there in Loreto. You're going to find people who are happy to see you, and they're going to welcome you out on the Panga fleet. Folks, that's where we're going to start with you. We're taking off on the Panga fleet out of Loreto. Of course, destination Doradoville. We're going to hope to get that stuff. But before we can get it, we've got to have some bait on board. So we head out on an absolutely gorgeous morning. Look at how flat calm it is here. This is what you find in Loreto on a regular basis, and we're heading out to some of the smaller skiffs that are making bait. They're catching some of the giant squid. Boy, I'll tell you, that stripped out squid works better than just about anything on the Dorado. You'll see in just a little while. We're actually going to chum that Dorado with that squid and come right to the corner and stay right there. But we slide up here next to one of the skiffs on a beautiful morning, and boy, I'll tell you, you can't beat this type of atmosphere. It's gorgeous. Se te puso la cara color de rosa y arriba y arriba, ay arriba y arriba y arriba iré. Yo no soy marinero, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti. All right, you can see the sardines being loaded on board as well as some slabs of squid. About $5. That's what it costs for a couple of scoops of Deans, and then you get a couple of slabs of the squid. How can you beat that? You don't have to worry about going out and making the bait anymore. In most cases, the guys take care of it down there for you. Look at the size of that squid slabbed out there in the bottom of that skiff. Really some magnificent big giant squid. Another scoop of the Deans. Boy, that live bait doesn't hurt a thing. It really helps to get those fish going. And then we're going to get our squid. We get a little bit of that squid along with it. All for $5. How the heck can you beat that, folks? Hay que ponerse un chango para zapatear el sol. Qué bonito es el fandango para andar de vacilón. The gentleman running our particular Panga today is Francisco, and Francisco is one heck of a Panga operator. He's got the reputation for having one of the best Pangas in Loreto, and the man knows his stuff. These guys have an extra sense, it would appear, in finding these fish. They just seem to smell them out. They just seem to know where they are. And once we get this bait, off we'll go. Francisco's making sure we are topped out with plenty of bait. You see Stacy up there in the bow. She's ready to go. Come on, let's kick it out there. Let's go find these things. Well, the trolling feathers are definitely necessary. You want to drag those albacore-style feathers behind the boat. And boy, I tell you, you never know what's going to jump on them. You could have the tuna, the Dorado, even the sails will come up and chase those around. So that's a very good idea. But that's not all you can drag behind. There's all kinds of things you've got to be prepared with, like these marauders from Mako. Boy, do the Dorado love to jump on them. The Marauder from Mako, boy, they really jump all over those things. And UFO lures, they're great. Once you get stopped, you can yo-yo them or even toss them on a bunch of breaking fish. Great way to get the job done. And, of course, the Mako L-Jacks. Man, oh, man, is there anything better to get stocked on these Dorado than trolling those Mako L-Jacks? Really an outstanding way to go. De la Sierra Morena
Well, as you can see, we're just pulling up on a kelp patty. I should say Bob and Stacy are pulling up on a kelp patty. There's about 5 boats surrounding this entire patty, but there's just a real jag of Dorado, and you can see some guys making long casts, one fish going right there. You know, that's what you're going to look for. You look for the kelp patties down there and or the debris. Any kind of debris floating in the water is apt to attract these Dorado. They're out in the open ocean. They're looking for some area to hide and find bait. And anything that's in the water, be it some type of garbage actually, or be it a kelp patty, whatever it is that's in the water is going to attract these things. Look at these guys. They are taking advantage of this system right now. Of course, it's the whole food chain story. Look at the kelp right there, the Dorado underneath it, the bait there, they're feeding on that, and that's what you've got to keep your eyes open for, finding that. Stacy Robbins is on the stern there, trolling. Hey, Stacy, you bit? You acted like you were there for a second. She's trolling away and hoping to get a bite at any point in time. It won't be long. Those kelps have the Dorado on them. Here she goes. She's onto a Dorado right now. And let me tell you, Stacy Robbins, gosh darn, does she know how to pull out a fish. Look at this baby. She's got it turned around. It's already starting to do its thing in terms of its acrobatic behavior. Just a beautiful Dorado for Stacy, all lit up beautifully. And a fine, fine job. The first of hopefully many Dorado to come today. Well, you see Bob Alvarez back in the corner stroking away, and Francisco also. He's onto a Dorado. I suspect that Stacy's filming away for a second, trying to catch her breath, and she's doing a wonderful job. Folks, we want to impress upon you a couple of things. A, the limit on Dorado now in Mexico is 3. We'd love you to observe that. In fact, if you can't use 3 Dorado, release the doggone things. If you want to take a Dorado home that night and have it there in Loreto and have the cook in your favorite restaurant take care of it, or even yourself at your own little hotel, well, that's fine. But if you can't use them, please release them. Something we really want to emphasize to you here on the Tuna Videos, and that's the catch and release program. If you can't use these beautiful fish, please turn them loose. But remember, the limit, 3 Dorado, it is enforced strictly down there, so please don't take any more and have any more than 3 Dorado per rod in your possession. Now, Bob Alvarez, boy, look at the size of that Dorado. He really likes to fish those things, and he likes to fish them with the heavier string in terms of the leader. But he likes to fish main line of about 15 pound, and we recommend you do that. We'd like to see you take these things on with the lighter monofilament, and you can definitely do that by fishing the lighter line. Now, here it's time to get some more bait, and you're going to see a giant squid that's going to knock your socks off, everybody. Some of the guys go out and like to snag away at these giant squid. Bob told me the last time he was down there, it was hard to drag Rick and some of the guys away from this. They were having so much fun catching the bait, they didn't even want to go outside and catch the Dorado. I mean, fun action. And hey, there's nothing wrong with calamari steaks, is there? I think it's some of the best eating stuff in the ocean. These giant squid are a magnificent eating fish, but in this case, we're going to use it for bait on the Dorado. No, you don't fly line that whole big giant squid. What you do is slab it out, use pieces of it, and boy, I'll tell you, nothing works better on the Dorado than the squid. It's an outstanding, magnificent way to bring that stuff in. And I always recommend to you, I know it's a pain in the neck, but if you can bring down some frozen squid with you, just in case you don't have an opportunity to get some of this stuff, boy, it always pays off, and it pays off in a big way. Here's Bob soaking a piece of squid right here. Look at that fish back there starting to jump. Outstanding action as Bob Alvarez is on to yet another Dorado. And you can see in the foreground there, see the little chunk of squid? Don't need a big piece of squid. There's just a little slab of squid there, and that's exactly what you want to use. Fly line it out there. We were talking about using the lighter monofilament, like the 15 pound. That's fine, but just make sure that leader is 50 or 60 pound. These Dorado will bite you off, and if you don't have that heavier line in terms of the leader, you're going to get bit off. Let's watch this action. It is absolutely fabulous, fantastic action south of the border in Loreto. Now, folks, you private boaters who want to drive down to Loreto, the Trans-Peninsular Highway, which extends from Tijuana down to Cabo San Lucas, is generally in outstanding shape. In fact, I drove a Volvo all the way down to the Cape one year to give you an idea of not necessarily needing a four-wheel drive vehicle or anything like that. You can tow your boat down there, and when you get to Loreto, there's a concrete launch ramp that can accommodate boats up to 28 feet. And I mean, it is really nicely done. So you have no problem with regard to that. You can get into the water. Now, as opposed to when we were fishing with Francisco earlier, of course, we were on a Panga. This is private boater style now. Look at that beautiful Dorado Bob's got. And the key when you're fishing in terms of being a private boater is sometimes you got to locate your own bait. As Bob did earlier, he found that giant squid. You can still go out there and buy the stuff. But I tell you, these guys have such a ball catching those giant squid that they like to do that. Now, a couple of tips for you as a private boater, folks. A, let's keep this in mind. Bring some extra squid with you. Bring some of that frozen stuff, and don't be afraid to chum with it. If you see some Dorado come to the boat, throw a handful of the cut stuff out there. Watch these Dorado come to the corner. You can suck them right in there. You can keep them there. And then just keep it steady. Every minute or so, when you see all the chum disappear in the water, throw another handful. In they'll come again. You can almost pick the Dorado you want to catch by looking down there in the water and seeing them come to the chum. It's a great way to get the job done. Now, I know a lot of you, including myself, including Bob Alvarez, like to catch these big Dorado on the lighter monofilament. 10, 15-pound mono, that's fine. Have a ball with it. But please use a heavier monofilament leader. Please go to the 50, 60-pound mono leaders, so many times these Dorado will get the very best of you. Gosh, I think it's worth mentioning right here, folks, that this is Rick's first trip to Loreto. It's his first fishing trip catching these big Dorado, and man, is he having the time of a lifetime. I don't want you folks to be intimidated at all about going down to Mexico. I spent a year of my life living in Mexico as well as Costa Rica, 2 years in total, and I found the Latin American people to be some of the most gracious, wonderful, giving people anywhere in the world. And that extends right on out to the Panga fleet, where you'll meet fine gentlemen, a good friend of Bob's and myself, Francisco right now. You'll find that same kind of attitude. So don't be intimidated. Go out and have a ball, and you will really experience not only a great people, but some fabulous fishing. And doggone it, how can you blame Rick for loving this kind of fishing? His very first time, and take a look at the size of that Dorado as it continues to circle round and round, and Bob gets ready to put the gaff in it. Folks, again, private boating down there, an absolute ball. It's a paradise. Look how flat calm it is. It can always be a lot of fun. And another idea for you, your first day down there, not a bad idea to leave the Panga or your skiff, tie it up, jump on a Panga with Francisco or one of the guys down there, and learn some of the areas. Learn where the fish are. Your next day's fishing is going to be great. Look at the size of this big flathead. A beautiful fish for Rick, and no wonder this man is hooked on this kind of fishing. Outstanding job and just a blast down there in Loreto.